Well, hello, boys and girls. I'm at Yost Elementary. Hello, Yosties. And I'm in Mrs. Christian's kindergarten room. Today is Tuesday, March 31st, and I am happy to be back. I missed you guys since last Thursday, and we have two really good books to start today. So hopefully you guys are ready to start the stories. But first, we've got to do the pledge. And this pledge we have 4 boys and girls in, and it's from the Bozak family. Aiden and Ava are at Westchester. Gabriella is in Mrs. Ray's class at Brummett Elementary, and Adley, well, he's not in school yet. However, he's hoping to have Miss Kazmerzak when he starts kindergarten. So, if we could all stand for the pledge.
Hi, this is the Bozak family. Today we are here to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hope you guys all stay healthy. Have a great day.
All right, now that we're done with the pledge, let's start our story. But first, let's make sure that we're crisscross applesauce. And if we have any jiggles, let's go ahead and get those out. Ooh, they're bouncing around the room again. Let's take our hands and bring them together. And today's jam is going to be a very simple jam. Strawberry jam. Strawberry jam. And it reminds me of when my oldest daughter used to love watching Strawberry Shortcake. She sang a song that was called Strawberry Jammin'. And boy, she used to sing it at the top of her lungs as we drove down the road, or even at home. Do you guys have any favorite songs that you like to sing that go along with your shows that you like? Those are good. Keep them coming with. Those are all really good songs. All right, let's go ahead and start the story. All right, our first story is a pretty funny one because, as we know, Officer Joe is not a big fan of reading stories that aren't funny. So, the first one is, if you ever want to bring a piano to a beach, don't do it. I wonder why. Does anybody out there know why we shouldn't bring a piano to a beach? Yes, there's a lot of sand. Seagulls may poop on it. Maybe. What else? Because you want to play in the water and play in the sand and not play piano? That would make sense. There's one more thing that I'm thinking about here, and why we probably shouldn't bring a piano to the beach. Correct. Because it's really heavy. All right. If you ever want to bring a piano to the beach, don't. If your mom says, get ready to go to the beach, she means with If your mom says to get ready to play at the beach, she means with a boat, or a frisbee, or a shovel, or sandcastles, or anything else. But what she is not talking about is bringing the piano. If you roll out the piano anyway, she'll tell you, you better not lose that piano. And you'll think to yourself, how in the world am I going to miss and lose this big giant piano? You'll tell her that it's okay, that you'll hold on tight to your piano, and you'll keep it neat and clean, even though you know it's probably not possible. And you'll even promise to push it to the beach yourself. Cross your heart. You've been working out, you've been doing a couple extra push-ups. You think, no problem at all. It'll slide easily on the sand. You're so excited. But on the way, your arms will get very heavy. Then your legs will get very draggy, and soon you'll find the perfect way to move the piano along. You'll take advantage of your mom pulling your brother in the wagon. And you'll think, aha, I figured it out. This isn't going to be too hard anyway. Perfect. And you'll go for a ride on that piano. When you feel rested, you'll start to push again because, well, you don't want to be lazy. And you don't want your mom yelling at you if you get caught. Once you get to the beach, you'll need to make sure the piano still works. So you'll play your favorite song, but you haven't practiced in a while, so your favorite song is a little shaky, and people will kind of look around like, what song is she trying to play? So then you'll play an easy one, Mary Had a Little Lamb, which you can play very, very, very easy. Finally, you'll stop for a lunch break because all this work made your belly full of emptiness, which means you need to fill it with something yummy. The seagulls will want to share your egg and cheese sandwich, and you'll say, get away, get away, get away. But they'll be going, mine, 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 mine. And then it'll happen. The worst fear that you had. One of the seagulls poops on the piano. Ew, seagull poop. You'll scream at him when that seagull makes seagull poop on the piano. Ah, get away, seagulls! Go! And the seagulls won't really be all that afraid of you. And you'll keep doing it. Get away from my piano and my egg sandwich! Leave me alone at my piano! Haven't you ever seen a piano at the beach? And they'll just keep saying, mine, 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 mine. This, you know, is not good for the piano. And look at all of the seagull poop on the piano. Ew! But, luckily you're a thinker, so you know just what to do. Bath time. You're right there by the water. The piano is made of wood. It'll float, right? So you'll take it down by the water because you need to clean off all of that seagull poop before your mom sees it and yells at you. You'll splish, you'll splash, and the piano, because it's made of wood, will float up and down and up and down. And you'll get on an inner tube and you'll continue playing one of your favorite songs, this time, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But then something happens. Your piano starts to float away before you get it all the way cleaned off. And you'll watch it float further and further away. And you'll think to yourself, my mom's gonna be so mad at me. What can I do? So you'll think and you'll think and you'll think. But before you know it, the piano is completely out of reach. And you'll want to start crying, but you don't want your mom to find out that you've lost the piano, because that was her number one rule. Don't lose the piano. So you'll continue thinking and continue thinking. And of course, you'll run out of ideas. You'll wish you had played with a boat or a frisbee or a shovel. You wish that you would have made a sandcastle. You wish you would have done anything instead of bringing the piano. But now, you wish you had played with your baby sister instead of that piano. You'll be so mad, you'll want to just go home. Well, here's what I would do if I were you and I was in this little bit of a piano pickle. I'd borrow your brother's fishing line and cast it as far as I possibly could. Far, far, far out to catch the drifting piano. Now, it may take an extra couple of casts because you're not the best caster, but that's what I would do. Then, what I would do is, when you actually hook it, reel the line back in so you can get your piano back. Or you may just get a little tiny shell. You'll think to yourself, whew, That was hard reeling in that little tiny shell. I wonder how hard it's going to be to reel in that piano. But then you'll kind of get sidetracked because that shell can actually be a boat or a frisbee or a shovel, just like you wish that you had brought. And you'll kind of forget about your piano because you're having so much fun with the little shell that you caught. So, if you ever want to bring the piano to the beach, just don't do it. Because, well, you might as well just lose it instead. But you never know what you might find at the beach. You may just find a little shell that can be a boat, a frisbee, or a shovel. The end. Did you guys like that one? Good. I liked it too. Now I have a really funny one next. This is a fairly new book, and I've read it to some of you already, and some of you I haven't. And the book is called More Bears. More bears, more bears, more bears. It's a good one. If you need to stand up and shake a little bit, let's go and stand up and shake a little bit. Oh, okay. Ooh. All right, sit back down, crisscross applesauce, and let's start. Once upon a time, there was a story. The story was a lovely story with absolutely not one single bear in it anywhere. Not a single bear. Anywhere. And then one day, something happened. As the author was typing about this great story, he heard, "More bears!" And the author stopped. He looked around. What in the world was that? He didn't hear anything else. So he went back to typing. And then he heard, "More bears!" And said, "Hello, somebody there? Anyone?" But he didn't hear anything. Now, it sounded just like kids. And then he heard it again, "More bears!" The author couldn't figure out where the voices were coming from. So he just went back to writing. So he thought to himself, as I was saying, this story had absolutely no bears in it at all. Not one single bear anywhere. And the author was extremely certain that there were no bears in the story. But as he finished that sentence, he heard, "More bears!" And now he was certain that he heard it because it sounded just like boys and girls. He heard it more and more and more. More bears! More bears! More bears! He tried really hard to ignore the children who thought that the story might as well have more bears. But he wasn't going to give in. He went and he looked underneath the tables, in the closet, inside his shoes pockets, in the refrigerator, but he couldn't find the children. He wanted to know why they wanted more bears in the story. He asked, "Please, children, if you want more bears, please tell me why." But all they would say was, "More bears." So the author continued. He eventually got tired of hearing more bears. So he said, "Fine. If you guys want a story that has bears in it, then how about this little cute baby bear strolling through the book, looking for..." And before he could finish that sentence, he heard, "More bears!" And he said, "All right, now that's enough. I've added a bear. This originally wasn't going to have any bears at all, and now you're asking for more bears." But before he could finish that sentence, he heard, "More bears!" And the author started to get frustrated. The author knew exactly how many bears that there should be in the story. Originally, he said just one. Actually, he said none. And then he said just one. But as he said just one, the boys and girls yelled, "More bears!" And the author was like, "Oh, good gravy, more bears!" Because he didn't want any bears in the story. So, what did the author do? Well, I'll tell you what the author did. The author added 2 bears. And he said, "Are you happy now, boys and girls? I've added an adorable, cuddly, wuddly little baby bear named Mr. Fluffy, and his mama bear named Stella, who always wore a yellow hat. And now it happened that Stella and Fluffy, like all the bears, were especially fond of," and before the author could finish the sentence, the boys and girls yelled, you guessed it, "More bears! More bears, more bears!" The author was just thinking that. You want more bears? Then certainly. And the author said, how about, just to keep everybody happy, I'll add a Papa Bear, whose name, by the way, will be Captain Picklehead. Have you ever heard of a bear named Captain Picklehead? And a bear named Uncle Sheldon, who was bald and loved to play the ukulele. Now, where were we? We have Uncle Sheldon, we have Captain Picklehead, and we have Stella and Mr. Fluffy. We apparently have plenty of bears in the story, so I will continue. And the author went to start writing, and, well, here's what happened. He heard, "More bears!" Now, the author was starting to get a little angry and said, "Stop that! Enough with the more bears! How many more bears do you want in the story anyway?" he said. And before he could finish the sentence, the boys and girls said, you guessed it, "More bears!" So, the author said, would you want to hear about Bobcat Sam, the bear who rode a pony, and Admiral Haversham, the English dancing bear, and Excellent Steve, who was the bear that just wanted stuff? These guys here. And in case the author suddenly decided what the story really needed, how about a surfing bear? And the author waited for the boys and girls to say something, but they didn't say anything. And he thought to himself, perfect. I can now continue my story. And that's just what he did. But before he could start, all he heard was, "More bears!" So the author said, yes, 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 yes. It's exactly what I was going to do. I'm going to add more bears. More bears. So the author added Astro Bear, who, by the way, was Bulgarian and always kept a hamster in his pocket, just in case, of course. And then the author added 3 more bears, named Lester, Chester, Esther, and Floyd. Wait a minute. Lester, Esther, Chester, Floyd. That's 4 bears. That's not 3. Oh, well, that's okay. 4 bears it is, because after all, this story really needs what, boys and girls? What does the story need? That's right. The story needs more bears. It needed a bear named Lucky Eddie, that is, who juggled carrots. And juggling carrots, well, that could be very dangerous, because those carrots, well, they're sharp. They're pointed. They could land into his ears, and he wouldn't be able to hear. Would Lucky Eddie look funny walking around with carrots in his ears? Of course. Juggling carrots is very, very dangerous. And what about a bear named Elbow, who wasn't smart and always wore his underpants on the outside of his regular pants? His friends would say, Elbow, your underwear is on the outside, not on the inside. And this is what Elbow would say. So I wear my underpants on the outside because they're itchy, and if I wear them on the outside, then they're not itchy, so I choose to wear them on the outside, not the inside, because I don't like them to itch. Is that okay with you? And Elbo's friends would just go, whatever you want to do, Elbo, whatever. And how about a bear named 123, which even the author thought was a strange name for a bear. And since this probably wasn't enough, the author added what? What do you think the author added? That is correct. More bears! The author added 6 bears on a tiny pink bicycle. Our tiny pink bicycles, right up there. 2 bears reading comic books, because of course, that makes sense. 1 bear flying across the page in a cape and in lederhosens. And 3 more bears swinging through trees on vines. A bear in a yellow submarine. 7 bears making cupcakes. And an entire team of firefighting bears running around the page with hoses, ladders, party balloons, and of course, an axe, because every fire bear needs an axe. It was a plastic one, though. No real axes here. That, my friends, is a lot of bears. And the author thought, perfect. I haven't heard more bears said at all. So the author thought, what can I do to add to the story? And just as he started to continue on with the story, there were bears, he noticed, hanging from the top of the page. Bears sleeping in the corners. Bears standing on top of the other bears. There were so many bears in the story that they couldn't fit all on one page. And the author thought to himself, oh no, we may have a bit of a problem here. What can I do? Well, it was overcrowded. It was way too crowded. So crowded that some of the bears started pushing other bears off the page and arguing. I know, right? They shouldn't be arguing at all. Which made the author very grumpy. And when the author gets grumpy, they start rewriting the story. Uh-oh, that means the bears may get written right out of the story. In fact, the author started changing the story. And in fact, the author was so grumpy he told all the bears to leave. And they did. After all, this was the author's story. And the bears were upset. They started to cry like, we promised we're going to behave. And the author said, absolutely not. Leave now. There is no arguing, fighting, pushing, shoving, or hitting in my book. If you can't behave, you can't be here. Oh, it made those poor bears upset. They started to cry as they walked away. And the author was very upset. They walked right off the page. They rode off the page. They swung, they surfed, they danced, they climbed, they ran, and some even somersaulted right off of that page. And with each bear that left, this author went from having a face like this, to like this, to a face like this, to a face like this. Oh, it's almost, to a face like this. The author was so happy. Because the bears had listened, and there was no more fighting, arguing, pushing, shoving, or hitting. None of that. None of that was occurring. At last, all the bears were gone, and the author smiled. Finally, the author had a story with absolutely no bears in it. It was a lovely story with not a single bear anywhere. Just the way the author wanted it originally. Because, you see, the author was quite certain that this story should absolutely have... What do you think that he should absolutely have? Raise your hand. What's that you say? Dr. Seuss? No, Dr. Seuss. Let's see, what else? What else? Pete the Cat? No, Pete the Cat. What else should... A gingerbread boy? One more. A pigeon? A pigeon that wants to drive a bus? No, that's not a good idea either. Pigeons can be very, 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 very clumsy and messy. Well, what the author absolutely believed should be in a story is more chickens. More chickens. More chickens. The end. Do you guys like that one? I thought that was a good one too. All right, so I will see you guys on Thursday. Remember, make sure that you are being good helpers at home, that you're doing your e-learning. We're back from spring break, so your first e-learning back from spring break was yesterday. Make sure you're not hassling your mom or dad. Make sure you're not complaining. Make sure you're not going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do e-learning. Please be good listeners. Please help your mom and dad. And no fighting with your brothers or your sisters or your dogs. Be good, and I will see you on Thursday. Goodbye.